yo.
Yo, what's going on, everyone? We back again. It's Eddie Johnson, your host. I'm here with Michel'le. She is the creator of YouTube channel called Grace Speaks, where she has many great topics, and she talks about a lot of different things and aligns it with the Word of God. So that's definitely something for you guys to check out. Make sure you go check that out, Grace Speaks on YouTube. Michel'le, what's up?
Hey guys, what's going on, Eddie? Thank you so much for having me again. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Thank you for being here.
No problem.
So today we're going to talk about maturity and growth in terms of intimate relationships, that being husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, things of that nature. So with that being said, I wanted to start it off with the scripture that we're going to focus this topic on. It comes from 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 11. It says, "When I was a child, I spoke as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things." So that's a great scripture right there for a bunch of different reasons. But again, we're talking about relationships, and we're going to talk about maturity and maturing and growing on your, I guess with your outlook on relationships and how those things are supposed to function. I know for myself, being a man, my outlook on relationships was so out of whack when I was a kid, just because I was a kid. I just thought, I guess as children sometimes can be selfish. They want things to go their way. And when you're talking about relationships and being in those, if you're not mature in a relationship, you only looking out for number one. You're only looking out for yourself. You're not really concerned about the feelings and emotions of your partner. For me personally, I had to go. I had to kind of experience a lot of different lessons. Some harder than others, but those are the things that I had to kind of go through in order to make it to the point that I'm at today, and knowing what a healthy relationship is.
Yeah, that's true. And I believe that with your experiences, that's how you're able to mature.
Right.
So with experience and with older age, you get the knowledge that's required for you to see relationships in a different outlook.
Right.
So what would you say, like, as you were, growing up and maturing, you would say as a man, helped you along the way to reach that point in your life where it's like you wanted to put your childish ways behind and start as this man that you are today?
Really, I would have to say I had a change of scenery. When I, going to college, I still, was thinking kind of juvenile in terms of, wanting to just talk to a bunch of different women and, do things like that. But, God works out everything strategically for everyone, I believe. And I had to transfer. I didn't have to, but I transferred to play basketball somewhere else. And me just getting away from, that environment that I was in. Not that it was a crazy environment per se, but I made it crazy for myself just because of how I was moving. So once I left there and went to another place, everything was new, everything was fresh. And I'm like, you know what? I get to go to church again. I'm closer to home. I kind of was able to get back to, how things started, how I knew things should be.
Right.
So I started looking around, and this time I was really paying attention to like a bunch of different people that were in relationship. You see couples walking up and down, the street, or walking, by different dorms and in classrooms and stuff like that. And I was thinking, like, man, you know what? I want something like that. I want to, be committed to one woman. I want a family. I want to do things the right way. I didn't grow up seeing, cheaters and stuff like that in terms of my family, with my parents, my grandparents, aunts and uncles, stuff like that. So why was I so different, So I started to mature in that sense, like, man, it would be nice to have someone to call my own instead of just, just being out there, and not really having someone to myself, for myself,
right. That's cool. So I would say, so you would say that as you were, you got to that point where you started to see a reflection of other relationships around you and you wanted it for yourself. Mm-hmm. Now, that's good to kind of see that, but what did you have to do as a man to actually, put those thoughts into actions and say, all right, I'm not going to be how I was. I'm going to change, and make an effort to move forward into that manhood.
Okay, so there's a few things. I had to question myself. Like I said, I wanted to have a family. I said I want to have a family one day. So with that being said, I want to have children. There's a 50% chance that I'm gonna have daughters. So would I be comfortable with them meeting someone like me? And initially I'm like, yeah, I'm respectful. I'm this, I'm kind, I'm, these different things. But I guess it just bothered me where that question kept replaying in my head. And, I guess some days later, or however long it wasn't the same day, obviously, but sometime later I thought about it. I'm like, nah, yo, you can't. You would be upset if your daughter was to meet someone like you because, yeah, you're a respectful person, but you could be respectful and still be disrespectful at the same time, just by, the way you move, just by your actions. You're saying one thing to this woman, then you're going behind her back and doing all these other things. You're kind of saying the same thing. You're lying, basically, to these people, and that's not right. And I had to think about it like, yo, would you... say one day your daughter comes home and she's crying, telling you, oh, such and such did this to me. I found out he was cheating on me, this, that, and the other. And then I'm sitting there thinking, while she's crying to me, I'm saying, man, I probably did the same thing to somebody else's daughter. I probably made somebody else's daughter cry a few times. And that's not right, So that was like, yeah, you can't, you don't want to do that. And I remember Nas had a song, Daughters. I'm sure you guys have heard of that. And he was like, he said something along the lines of the things that God does to like the foulest players and heartbreakers is that He gets them back and gives them little girls, gives them daughters. So thinking on that, you're like, man, maybe, what if that's true? What if for the things that I've done and the heartache, I guess you could say, and that I've caused is me getting a daughter. And not to say that I don't want a daughter. I would like to have a daughter. That'd be cool. But you want to prepare them. You want to prepare them for life. And that. But then also, I had to think about like, how am I professing to be a follower of Christ, yet I'm acting like this, and say some woman came about and was like, nah, how you saying all this and you did this to me? That makes you look bad. That kind of messes up your testimony. And then also people look from the outside looking in, he's like, wait, he says he's a believer in Christ, he's a Christian, but he acting like this, and I see him doing these things, I know this. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be involved with believers. I don't want to be involved with Christians. I don't even want a Christian man. I might as well just take a worldly guy if this isn't what a Christian is. So thinking on those things, I had to change. And also because you don't want what you do to turn someone away from Christ. That's dangerous right there. So I had to really, fix my mind and again get back into the Word. I'm just so grateful, for what Christ done. We're just coming off of Easter too, or Resurrection Sunday. Christ died, to rid all those things, all those sins, all those, different things that you do that aren't pleasing to Him. And so, now knowing who Jesus is and knowing what He requires, what is required to be a believer, that's what helps me to really change and move forward, and really help me to kind of mature more and grow, in terms of relationships.
That's good. That's good. I know with me, speaking with my own experience, I would say that I grew up as a child, but I've always been around older people. So it was more like, all right, I can't be a child and act like a child because I'm around a lot of adults and I see a lot of adult things. So once I hit the breaking point where I was like, I became a young mom, as you know. So it was kind of a matter of me having to be mature. It was a requirement of me. Like, it wasn't something that I had to choose, like how you got to college and you're like, oh, well, I want this. Me, I was kind of thrown into it, and I'm like, all right, now I have to mature because I have a younger child looking up to me and where I want to set an example for him. But when it comes to relationships, that I would have to say I was very stagnant in. And it was because I wasn't coming across men that were mature as me or on my level. And then hearing relationship stories from the older people I was around, it just seemed like a horror movie. Like, it was just bad. So I had my experiences. I've seen certain relationships in front of me that were very negative and toxic. So once I got into the dating scene, relationship scene, I believe I held on to the toxic aspect and brought that into different relationships. So I would say that once I begin to depend on God and say, all right, Lord, I know that you have a plan for my future. And I know that I don't want to be single forever. So, and in that case, me too. Like, I want a family. I want my son to have siblings. So now I begin to pray. And I believe that's what got me to mature in my relationships and be able to see, not all men are the same. There is a man that God has for me,
Yeah, I agree. I kind of was like that too, where I I think this is one of the, there's many, but one of the many detriments of social media is, you kind of look at, I think I said this on here before one time. You see people post like different, celebrity couples talking about relationship goals. Even if it's not a celebrity couple, you just see, that popular couple that posts all the time, pictures together, talking about goals. But really, you don't know what they're going through behind closed doors. That could be all for show. That could be just to, have that image of a good relationship, a successful relationship, a happy relationship. Meanwhile, you don't, again, like I said, you don't know what's going on behind closed doors with them. They could be the most miserable people ever, with each other. So I would look at, social media and see those things. I'm like, that's what's up, that's cool. But, lo and behold, you can't, I guess, kind of covet someone else's relationship. You need to know that you're an individual, so is your significant other, and that you guys are going to have to make your own thing together, And I think that's what helped me also to mature, because I used to look at, a bunch of different, beautiful women on social media with that, with their significant others. I'm like, man, I want a girl like that. If he got that, I want that too. But really, I just had to, again, put myself to the side, like, yo, that's for sure. Like, maybe it's something good, but I don't know that. I need to stay in my own lane and let the Lord bring whoever to me. But with that being said, I need to prepare myself and grow and be right enough for this woman that I want God to bless me with.
Right.
So you have to be open to the Lord, really preparing you. I used to pray that a lot too. Like, Lord, I'm ready for who you have for me. But if I'm not, please make me ready for that.
Right. That's a good prayer, because a lot of the times when it comes to men that put their child ways behind and they feel like they're matured and they're seeking that wife, a lot of times in their mind and their body, they're not at the level of maturity that's going to get them that wife. And I hear it all the time that it's kind of the wife that pushes them to be that mature man that's required to put the child, likes behind. So what do you think about that? Do you think that it ultimately would take a woman, like for a man, I would not say in your experience, but not in your predicament, but in other, what can you tell young men out there, like if they are trying hard to put their childhood, ways behind, but the enemy, of course, he fights that because he's putting in their mind comfortability, like party, have, multiple women and things like that. Like what motivation or encouragement can you give that young man to know that it's not the end of the world? Maybe you just need to find a woman that's going to push you to that level of maturity. But what can he do in that process?
Well, number one, I would say, don't think that a woman is going to mature you. That's something that you have to take care of on your own. You're responsible for yourself. It's not a woman that's just going to come and then, put you all together. She's not. You don't want a mother for your woman. You want a woman that's going to support you, that's going to be your helpmate. But, you need to mature on your own. And that maturity really comes from knowing Christ. He is the one who will put you together. Sometimes that requires him to break you down first, but it's all to build you up and build you up to be that better you that he knows that you are, that he made you to be. So, I would say get yourself right first. Make sure that all your I's are dotted, all your T's are crossed as much as possible.
In what way?
Just, having your mindset right, being in a healthy state of mind. Hurt people. You can't be damaged out here and then say, I'm ready for a wife. I'm ready for that. But you still haven't figured out yourself. You still haven't, gotten your personal situations in order. I've seen it before where people bring past trauma, even from childhood, into marriages, and it ends up breaking apart. And then in that you hurt the children, you hurt the respective families. It's just a lot of things that go on to it. So you have to be sure that you're on point. You have to know, again, that
your mindset.
Yes, your mindset got to be on
good.
point.
That's good. And that's great that you bring up the mindset. So now I know for a lot of men out there, it's very hard for them to be with one woman. So what, words can you give that man that is battling just wanting to be with one woman? You're obviously a one woman man. So give your experience on what does it take for you to just be with one woman, and what can you, encouragement can you give?
Again, I would say that's a really good question, because I think that has a lot to do with your upbringing, the things that you've seen, growing up and everything like that. I think that, like for me personally, I grew up, I was blessed, to grow up with both my parents in the home, being married, my grandparents, again, my aunts and uncles and stuff like that. So I've always seen that, I've never seen any infidelity, thank God, I've never seen that. So I used to, I knew that was the goal. That's the goal. That's what I want to have one day. I remember just looking at my parents one day, and they just doing their thing, them play fighting, play arguing and stuff like that. And I just laughed. I'm like, man, I can't wait to have something like that. But for those men that weren't able to grow up with that, right. It's different. That's something. It's almost like you may have to train yourself and teach yourself how to want that.
Do you think that? I believe that God is the only way, the only answer to that.
Right.
Do you agree with that?
I do because, I think that, when you get that one woman that is just different from the rest. And, I think, sometimes that's like God's way of saying like, yo, this is someone nice for you. Maybe you may kind of mess it up a little bit, but, I think God will really get to you, and whether that be through other friends or acquaintances or herself, to tell you like, yo, stop playing around,
So is it safe to say that if a man is in a predicament and he doesn't feel the urge to grow up and mature, is it safe to say that woman may not be the one?
A woman is not going to change a man. A man has to do that for himself. He has to want to be right for himself. I think a lot of women make that mistake on thinking, oh, I could change him. I can be what he needs, this and that, and the other. That's not the case at all. If he don't want to change for you, he don't want to change for you. He's going to do that for himself because he wants that, not because you are pushing him to do something, or he wants to do it because he wants to do it. He's a man and he knows what he needs to do in order to take care of what he needs to take care of the things that he has. If you have something, I don't know, if you have a nice car and you don't change the oil, it's going to break down. But if you know that that's what you want, this is your pride and joy, this is your crown jewel, you're going to take the necessary steps to maintain that to where it's running fluidly and everything is good. That's the same thing, in relationships, I believe. Yeah. If you want that to be a well-functioning, a well-oiled relationship, you're going to, do the necessary things, to take care of it.
Yeah.
So.
That's good. Yeah, I agree. I believe that, a woman can't change a man, but I do believe that a woman can have a strong influence
Absolutely.
On a man.
Absolutely.
And, work together to, if not change, but allow him to grow in his way, in his own timing and things like that. Mm-hmm. So that's good. So I know the scripture says, when I was a child, I talked like a child and I thought like a child. If you don't mind giving some examples of like you talking and thinking like a child when you really were considered a man, because I believe like after you're 18, 19, like you're supposed to, be a man in some type of way. If you think about history and things like that. So, give me an example of something in a relationship wise where you thought like a child and you reasoned like a child and you talked like a child.
Mm-hmm. I would say maybe, being in a relationship, but yet still wanting to have my fun on the side. And, you think like, oh, it's cool, I got her, she's my main woman, this is my woman, everyone knows that. I'm just over here, dabbling in some other things. I'm not trying to hurt her or anything like that. I'm just, trying to have my fun. Meanwhile, I'm lying to her, and I'm saying, I'm trying to reason with myself and saying, oh, I'm lying to her to protect her. When you're gonna get found out, what happens in the dark will come to light. And it can happen in a bunch of different ways, right? I
agree to that.
Yeah. So, I would think like, it's cool as long as she don't find out. I'm not hurting her. I'm not trying to. Those aren't my intentions. But, again, that's childish. That's selfishness, And I think a lot of men and maybe women too, but a lot of men, make that mistake and thinking, oh, it's okay, I could cheat on my wife and have, some side pieces just as long as I keep it under wraps, I keep it safe and this, that, and the other. Meanwhile, you're not keeping it safe at all because it only takes 1 second for a mistake to happen.
And what consequences come from that?
A lot of things, say you get your side piece pregnant, that way, you hurt your wife, you hurt your children. I was talking about that in terms of the show Power. I did a video on Instagram maybe like last year on that, and how like the whole thing, it all started, all those issues started off with him and his infidelity. He wasn't able to take care of home and make sure that his wife and his kids are secure, and everything went crazy, So, it's a chain reaction. You're not only hurting your wife, but you're hurting your kids. You're hurting the family surrounded, and now your wife is damaged. She can't trust anymore. Maybe you guys end up divorcing. Now she's damaged. Your kids are damaged because now daddy's not in the house. And, they grow up, your son, your daughter, they grow up thinking, oh, this is normal. These issues are normal. And it's not, again, this cheating and those childish ways, that's all selfishness in my book. I believe that, comes from a place of selfishness and wanting to have your way, wanting to have your cake and eat it too. So I guess the best thing is, if you're not ready to settle down and be with one person, you just shouldn't do it, because you're hurting so many people, right along with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I believe like you reap what you sow. So
you definitely do.
All along, you having your cake and you're eating it too. But you're bound to get a taste of your own medicine. And sometimes it hurts so bad when you have to go through, what you put other people through.
Right.
So it's just so important that, and just you remove yourself from that cycle and you look to the future, because I believe that a lot of ego and pride is that pretty much that border for a man, because they want, and especially when you don't have friends, because again, bad company corrupts good character. So you can have good intentions, but because you are around people, and friends that discourage you or provoke you or influence you to do what is the trend or what they're doing, it just pushes you to want to explore and not be that, mature, man that God intends for you to be. So with that being said, do you feel like your friends and people that you kept around was one of the reasons why you had your childish ways?
I mean, somewhat, yeah, but then I think a lot of it was just me and wanting to do my own thing.
But how? If you didn't grow up in that atmosphere, that environment, how is it just you? Like, where did this come from, or what did you see to, provoke you to do it?
To be honest with you, I would say, and this might sound crazy, but a lot of music that I listened to, I was listening to rap music, but when you think about it, like, growing up, in the mid 2000s, the early mid 2000s, a lot of the, I was an R&B music dude. I like my rap music too, of course, but I was an R&B guy. That's what I really
Some
listened
R. Kelly?
Too soon. Nah, but like, anybody that was, on some, having a bunch of different women and, those type of things. And I guess I would try to really like recreate those things, and try to do, again, I was my own person, being an only child. I had my big cousins, which I'm very grateful for. I learned a lot from them, But at the same time, I was still doing my own thing. I still had my own, idea of how things should go, and I was doing it. I wasn't really thinking much of anyone else. I just wanted to do what I thought was right.
Right. And what you thought felt good.
Right. So I did. I have good friends, and of course, we all young. We was all young at the time, so we were all, I'm gonna speak for myself. I ain't going to incriminate nobody else, but of course, you have some influences that aren't as great.
Right.
But like I said, I take responsibility for what I was doing. I was doing my own thing.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. And so for the most part, where are you right now? Like, where's your mindset and your outlook on, life, relationships, maturity, and growth at this very moment?
At this very moment, I would say I want a wife. I want children. I want to plant that garden, yo. You know what I'm saying? I want to. I want to really. That's what I'm on now. I'm enough of all that. The childish stuff, the games and stuff like that. Nobody has time for that. Nobody has time to keep up with different lives because you out here doing your thing. To me, that's super corny. That's
right. And you talk about peace.
Right. A man wants peace. Okay, that means he don't want to have to worry about his woman coming to him and giving him grief for finding something in his phone or just catching something that he wasn't supposed to do. Somebody in his DM, whatever. A man wants peace. A man wants to just do what he has to do, take care of his family, take care of himself, and enjoy his life. You want to just be able to chill. Come home, be able to sleep well at night, and know that you could just leave everything open. Your woman could see it and know that ain't nothing going on because she's secure. She knows that she's secure because she knows who you are because you've been, super transparent. You let her know your honest intentions and you've shown her what it is that you're going to do, not by saying it, but by doing things, by showing her that you're more than capable of living up to your word and to what you said to her and the things that you want, the things that you aspire to have, so that's what I'm on. I'm on marriage and family, children, and, just building a legacy, building, that generational wealth, but that generational, just that, that real generational, greatness, I'll say.
Okay.
That's
good. That's good.
Yeah.
And I would say that for me, as a woman, to women that are listening, even though you may come across men that you may feel is not mature enough or hasn't grown to the season where you expect them to be, be patient. I believe that patience is a very important part of the growth and maturing process. And then also being understanding with the intentions of that man. If the man is, telling you this is what he wants, then take it for what it is. But if a man is telling you, he is, not sure, he doesn't know, he's still, thinking about it, that's not maturity, that's
right.
not growth. Right. Any person that's a man, an adult, he knows what he wants. He's going to, chase after what he wants in a way where you're going to know. It's going to hit you in the head because it's all right, this man knows what he wants. He has an intention to get what he wants. Mm-hmm. Any man that doesn't know what he wants has not fully grown and matured. Right. In that nature. Do you agree with that?
I agree 100,000% with that. You're going to, as a man, you're going to make it a point to, know what it is that you want. You can't expect to have a woman and not be able to lead her. As a man, as a godly man, you're supposed to lead the woman. How you going to lead and you don't have no direction? You don't have anywhere, you don't know where you want to go. She shouldn't want to lead, she shouldn't want to follow you. She shouldn't want to trust, to take that she shouldn't want to trust you to follow you if you don't have any direction for her to go in, And I just wanted to bring up this last thing. Shout out to Speak Prosperity LLC. Find them on Instagram, speakprosperityllc.net. Get their, apparel, their clothing. But they posted something today, and it says, "Don't expect someone who can't keep it real with themselves to keep it real with you." So if a man can't keep it real with you and tell you his intentions, his honest intentions, and not only speaking it, but you see him, really doing that, don't believe that. You need to seek the Lord. This goes for us men too. Seek God for who it is that He has for you, because He has the best for you, better than you can ever imagine. So just trust Him, lean on Him, and He'll get you there. It may take some time because you need to go through your own cleansing process and building up process, but He's gonna do it for you. You just have to be patient and trust Him. So
you would say that for every man, there's a good woman?
I believe that. I truly do.
That's good.
I do.
That's good.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. So, y'all, that's it. That's episode 9, maturity and growth, relationships, intimate relationships. So, we appreciate you guys for tuning in to this one. I think this one was a good one, just to get our minds off of, the current situation. So this was excellent. So again, shout out to Speak Prosperity LLC. Shout out to Verdure Watches. That's on Instagram, Verdure_watches, Verdure-watches.com if you visit their site.
Yep. And you can find me at MII Gray. That's on Instagram, me Gray, and also I have a YouTube channel called Gray Speaks. You can just search Gray Speaks. And Eddie, thank you again for having me. I appreciate these talks.
Yeah,
it's
this
very,
is good money,
helpful.
Yeah, therapeutic.
Yes,
right?
very therapeutic. Thanks.
So y'all, that's it. Yo the podcast. Catch us on all the main platforms. Spreaker. Shout out to Spreaker. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podcast Addicts, Pod Chasers, all those things. So we appreciate it, and you guys be blessed.